Hello students, welcome back to JJ's physics class. Today we are going to discuss about velocity time graphs and how to interpret velocity time graph. Velocity time graph shows how velocity changes over time. As we know that when you plot the graph, velocity is a dependent quantity on time. So velocity is taken over the y-axis and time is an independent quantity or independent variable which will be taken on the x-axis. Describe the motion of an object based on this velocity time graph. So what are the key points we need to remember here? So when you analyze this velocity time graph, you must know that there are four things you need to keep in mind. So positive gradient indicating that acceleration, negative gradient indicating that deceleration. So at point A, you can see that the object is moving with constant acceleration. But at the point B, it is still accelerating, but the acceleration is slightly decreased. At point B, we call it as decreasing acceleration. What about point C? Can you find out? Yes, the object is moving with constant velocity, or we call it as acceleration is 0 at point C. What about at point D? There is a constant deceleration at point D. What about at E? The acceleration is decreasing, that is towards the time axis. So it is decreasing deceleration. What about point F? At F you can say that it's again constant acceleration but in the opposite direction. At point G, again it is constant velocity but in the opposite direction. So at point G, the acceleration is 0. What about H? It is constant deceleration and still moving in the opposite direction. And at J, object turns back and is undergoing constant acceleration. So this is how you are supposed to describe the velocity time graph. So this is the answer for the previous graph questions. So A is object is undergoing constant acceleration. At point B, object undergoing decreasing acceleration. C, object is undergoing constant velocity. D, object is undergoing constant deceleration. E, object is undergoing decreasing deceleration and eventually come to rest. Object F, which is undergoing constant acceleration in the opposite direction. And at G, object is undergoing constant velocity and still moving in the opposite direction. At point H, object is undergoing constant deceleration and still moving in opposite direction and eventually come to rest. At J, object turns back and is undergoing constant acceleration. Now let us look into another example. So this is again a velocity time graph. Here the velocity is ranging from 20 to 80 in the positive y-axis and 20 to 40 in the negative y-axis. Time axis is taken as 0 to 50 minutes. Select the description of motion from A to B. What is the motion from A to B? There are four options here: slowing down away from the origin, speeding up away from the origin, constant velocity away from the origin, constant velocity towards the origin. So it is not slowing down, it accelerates. Definitely it is the second choice, speeding up away from the origin. Next question, true or false? This graph shows several segments all with constant velocity. Is it true or false? Definitely it is not true. So the answer is false because constant velocity only represents the position where B to C. All other it is either increasing or decreasing accelerations. Describe the motion of C to D. Describe the motion of C to D. What are the options? Constant velocity away from the origin, slowing down away from the origin, slowing down away from the origin and then slowing down towards the origin, slowing down away from the origin and speeding up towards the origin. So what is your choice? From C to D, this portion, it is slowing down away from the origin and speeding up towards the origin. So describe the motion of CD. As you can see that here it is slowing down and here it is gaining speed. So definitely slowing down and speeding up. So the option is D for the last choice. What segment of graph shows no motion or standing still? Here you can see that AB, no. BC, it's constant velocity. CD, again it's slowing down and speeding up. Here option is none. This is the answer. Next, describe the motion from B to C. So what is B to C? So the object is moving with constant velocity at 60 meter per minute. The answer is the second option. Next question, what kind of line on a displacement time graph could create a segment BC on this velocity time graph, that is this portion. So here the velocity is constant. So it is a parallel line to the x-axis or the time axis. But when you plot the displacement or distance time graph, so definitely the velocity is uniformly increasing. So it will be a straight linear line. What does a horizontal line not on the x-axis mean on a velocity time graph? So here is the only portion where the object is moving with a constant velocity, that is the portion BC. So the answer is constant velocity. Next, what is happening at 0 meter per minute in the middle segment of CD? What is happening at this point? Let us call this point as unknown x. Okay. Here what is happening? Nothing is happening. No. Changing in speed. No. Changing its position. No. But it's changing in the opposite direction. That is the option. Which segment shows an object speeding up towards the origin? Speeding up towards the origin. So there are two portions you can see here at this point. This is the origin. As you know that from C, it is losing its speed. So it is not speeding up. But from this portion to this, it is speeding up towards the origin. So definitely CD below the x-axis is the answer. So what are the outcomes of this velocity time graph and what is the interpretation of velocity time graph? The first outcome is the gradient of this line gives acceleration. Negative gradient means it is decelerating. Flat section means it is moving with constant speed. Okay. And the area under this graph gives what the distance traveled by the body. That is very, very important. So the slope of the line gives acceleration. If it is a straight line, not on the x-axis, that indicating that the object is moving with constant speed. If it is negative gradient, it indicating that the object is moving with deceleration. And area under speed time graph gives the distance traveled by a body. But the area under velocity time graph gives the displacement of the object. Thank you, students.